Welcome back to the Barrels Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode. Joined with Cole here on the pod. We have conference championship games this upcoming weekend, but it's been a minute since we have gotten an episode out to you guys. Just had a lot of stuff going on. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about a brief chit-chat about all of the teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs, kind of what they're looking at going into the offseason, because they are playoff teams. I think their off seasons are going to be a little bit different than the teams that didn't make it. And then we'll get into the coach hirings, all the jobs opening. I feel like this has been a crazy coaching cycle with all the jobs that kind of came available quick. And so that could become available. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the season, the rest of the way. And then
is it the most ever coaching?
It has to be.
Most or second? I think it's most or second. It might have been second at one point, but then after McDermott got fired, it's been wild.
Yeah. So get into the coaching hires, kind of talk about the openings for the rest of the jobs that are available, and then talk about some important coordinator hires as well. And then we'll kind of get into our conference championship predictions for this episode. But we can kind of start out with the first game that's kicked off kind of wild card weekend. It has been a minute. I'm optimistic for the Panthers going forward. I do think that division is going to be sneaky tough next year. I feel like every year is kind of like in this weird realm, but I think Stefanski getting to the Falcons, they're on the up and up. The Saints kind of had a really surprising back half of the year, and Shuck feels like the guy over there with Kellen Moore. And then the Bucks are always going to be a competitive team as long as Baker's there and Bowles is there in that division. So as much as I do like the Panthers, I will say it's going to be a tough division, tougher for them next year. I don't think they're going to get in with below 500. I just don't believe it.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That division's been, really competitive in a sense of those teams are pretty, they're really close this year, all around that 8 to 9 win mark. I kind of see all these teams. I think that it is going to be that same type of competitiveness, but more in a way that if you want to win this division now, you might have to win 11 games. And I think that's a good thing. It's a little bit surprising when you look at the Buccaneers not firing Bowles, but they're going to be back. They're probably going to be healthier than they were this past year. So, if I'm the Panthers, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot, though, especially with having my guy. I think you've kind of found that Bryce Young is your guy at quarterback. I just think it still is going to take another leap because going back to the playoffs is not guaranteed, even with how nice this year was. It is just not going to be guaranteed with Tyler Shuck playing how he is. Like I said, the Bucs may be more healthy. Atlanta getting a new coach, maybe that draws a spark. But if I'm a Panthers fan, I'm feeling good. You got to think back to early last season when Bryce Young got benched for Andy Dalton. If you told those Panthers fans that they would be in a playoff game next year, they would be very, very pleased. A home playoff game, obviously, because they won the division.
Especially against the Rams team where you had the Rams on the ropes in the fourth.
Right.
It's not 100%. Like the Rams just routed them. The Rams,
you're competitive.
Yeah, you could say the Rams have been the odds-on favorite to go to the bowl out the NFC all year. And they were looking at Carolina, a double-digit spread, at home, and Carolina put up a fight. And you got to think, if it wasn't for a dropped pass, we could be looking at Bryce Young getting that team in a field goal range.
And Bryce was making just big-time plays, too. He didn't have, this outstanding passing game by any means. He was good. He had a good game, but, at the end of the first half, I think it was, when he had that rushing touchdown, those are just the plays that you want to see from your number one overall pick, making those big-time plays in the big-time game. Him not looking sideways in the big-time game. He went in that playoff game, he was aggressive, and he was ready to make plays to do whatever he could to help them win. They were just outmatched, and that's okay. If I'm a Panthers fan, I'm pretty comfortable with where we're at right now.
Kind of to get into, the next team, the only because they lost by 31-34. I think the only thing I would like to see them add, they obviously got to add a little bit more pass rush because they weren't just not really able to get to Stafford a whole ton. They were able to slow down the run game a little bit, but they just weren't able to get pressure consistently on Stafford in that game. But somebody I do want to see them add is because I think he's going to get cut by the Minnesota Vikings at some point. It's seeming like it's trending that way. I would love to see them add TJ Hawkinson at the tight end spot, because it seems like the Vikings are going to cut him just because of saving cap, and they might be hunting for a big-time quarterback this offseason with reports and everything else like that. But I think Hawkinson could be an easy safety blanket. You pair him up with Tet, and you already have kind of a good young receiving core that's on the up and up. I just think you just need more time to develop.
I think Bryce Young seems like a guy that needs a. I love that you mentioned TJ Hawkinson, or honestly, just that position in general. There's some quarterbacks that, like, I mean, I think when you're a shorter quarterback like Bryce Young is, having that tight end to make things easier for you up the middle is a really big deal. Because like Bryce Young has no problem throwing it outside, throwing to his big target catch radius guy and Ted McMillan and making those types of throws. But like what everyone's going to be looking at Bryce Young at is making those throws up the middle, down the seam with a tight end and those third and short situations. Like having like a really reliable tight end, I think for Bryce Young would be huge. I mean, you saw Kyler Murray really favor a Trey McBride when he got him, and I'm not saying Hawk is any Trey McBride by any means, but like for a younger quarterback who's still learning things, having a reliable tight end could be really beneficial. So I think that's a
Mhm.
really good call out. I mean, if I'm a Panthers fan, like I said, like yeah, I'm satisfied, but also like I would be really upset if my front office just kind of sits back and thinks like this is going to work. Like, well, Bryce is still on this rookie deal. You got to cash in on it. And you got to go out and do things to help him. I mean, you're going to lose your defensive coordinator. It seems like he might get a head coaching job with how many openings there are. I can't remember his name. The Raiders are interviewing him. I don't think they're going to hire him. So, I mean, you have a pretty solid defense. Mike Jackson's an elite corner, of course, and then you had a Pro Bowler in blanking on Jay Horn,
Yeah.
had a Pro Bowler. Like you got some guys on the defensive end, but like I'm looking at Bryce Young on this rookie deal, number 1 overall pick. He's our guy. He's in the playoff. Like get him more weapons. Tet's your wide receiver 1. That's fine. So now the easy part comes in. You got good running backs. You got to get him one more receiver or a tight end. So I think that's a really good shout. I would even look at maybe getting a guy. This might sound crazy. I know he's been tied to the Commanders because he's played with Jane Daniels, but like I'm even thinking maybe going like let's give Brandon Ayuk a chance. Let's get some sloppy seconds on Brandon Ayuk. Let's just get
Yeah.
talent in here for Bryce. If I'm
Some
the Panthers, I'll go all in on Bryce. You drafted him number 1. No fan is going to be mad if the front office goes all the way in and they come up a little bit short as long as you try. It's these franchises that don't try. You got to just
Yeah.
try.
I think another interesting name. He's on the older side too, but with how young the roster is, they might kind of want an older receiver in the room as well. And with how they play with the quick dump offs and the check downs and how they operate the offense with Bryce Young, somebody even like, and he had a sneaky good year with all the quarterback injuries and everything else, but like Debo, I feel like would fit perfect
Yeah.
in this
Debo
offense.
had a
Like,
great season. I think Debo had a great season for what their
and
circumstances were.
and like I have no idea what the Commanders are doing at all. The Commanders are one team I haven't heard a single thing, a single peep about any moves they're making. They fired Cliff Kingsbury, and I haven't heard shit about what they're doing, what their plans are, like anything since. I have no idea what's going on with the Commanders, like at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
think they've been
that's
the quietest team, like and sometimes quiet's a good thing, but then you
that's good,
fire
right?
Cliff King.
That could be good.
But then you fire your OC for like what reason specifically when he was, I feel like tailor made for Jane Daniels. Now he's coming off a season where he was hurt all year, gonna have to be, it was third year in the league. Now he's on a situation where he's gonna have a new OC. Like I have no idea what direction they're going in. They haven't been linked to hiring anybody. Like, and then it just seems like Cliff Kingsbury got fired and he's not even really in any of his circles to get another job somewhere. So it's like super weird
I
to me.
know. Yeah, they have been quiet outside of that firing, and it was really alarming, especially when Jane Daniels, your franchise quarterback, kind of comes out and makes comments about how much he loved Cliff. I think Jane Daniels is really good. Like I was high on the Commanders coming into the year. I was wrong. Jaden was banged up. He had a
Mm-hmm.
few bad showings, but even then, like he still had some solid games. He still showed like he's a really good quarterback in moments while being banged up. I'm still like really high on Jaden, and I don't think he's an offensive coordinator reliant guy, even as much as a guy like Jalen Hurts is. As much as I like Jalen Hurts, he's shown he's pretty offensive coordinator reliant, even with being great. But I think Jaden will be fine in that sense. I'm not going to overreact about the Cliff firing. But, dude, why are you firing guys after a injury-infused season where
Mm-hmm.
your offense was not the problem? Your defense sucks.
Yeah.
Your head coach is your defensive guy, and the defense sucks. And I like Dan Quinn, but that seemed a little bit scapegoat-like, especially after all the injuries they had. You didn't even have Terry McLaurin, who you paid in the offseason for a lot of the year. You went into the year without a reliable running back, and a lot of people like Bill, but he's really not that good of a starting running back yet, whether what you think he can be. everyone's, can have their own opinion. But to fire your OC with the circumstances he was calling plays under this season, it seems a little bit ridiculous. It honestly felt, if I'm being honest about this, it seemed a little bit like Dan Quinn was doing that to cover up for himself and maybe give himself another year after next year if next year doesn't go good. That's kind of the vibe I get from it. But they hired an absolute nobody at OC, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That was a weird situation. I got a little bit to rambling there, but I really don't like the firing after an injury-infused season. That makes zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm. We can pivot to the Packers, who were the second team, kind of just going in order off the schedule. The Packers losing to the Bears in that pretty much North fashion. Whenever there's a matchup, I feel like all the games are pretty crazy. But the Packers, I'm not on the firing Matt LaFleur. I'm not on that at all because I don't think you're going to go get a better coach in this cycle anyways that's more fit to run this offense with Jordan Love. But let's keep it a buck. Like, they were a 9-win team and Micah goes down. I think they were 9-3-1. Micah goes down, and then you lose a top 10 player in the sport. Yeah, the defense is gonna slide, and the team's gonna. You gotta remember, Jordan Love missed time. Malik Willis was starting games. Micah missed time. Tucker Kraft, you're pretty much your number one target on offense.
Tight end this season.
So all three of those guys go down. Josh Jacobs was pretty much banged up all year. You missed Jaden Reed for some time. Matthew Golden missed time. Christian Watson always misses time. You just missing so many guys. And I think their main thing is I have kind of the same 3 takeaways for 3 teams is they just got to stay healthy. I think the Packers are always a team that's going to compete in that division and compete to win that division. Now, I will say it is the only stat I've seen is alarming is that Matt LaFleur is they implemented the 7th seed merchant, and that he wouldn't have no playoff appearances because every playoff appearance he's the 7th seed, barely scratching in, barely getting in there. But now I think they're on the hot seat a little bit because they were up in that game, and yes, it was an embarrassing loss, but how many years can you ride that run that you had where you beat Dallas in the playoffs? How long can you ride that without any further more success before it starts to get a little hot in there in Green Bay? And I think this could be a year for it to where he might not be fully on the hot seat, but they're definitely going to want to see more consistency throughout the year because they just had some bad losses this year. The Carolina one at home was bad before Carolina was really breaking onto the scene. They've just had some terrible losses. Yeah, they've just had some bad losses, and Green Bay's going to be Green Bay. This offseason, they're probably not going to do nothing crazy, but their main thing is health. If Tucker Kraft, if they were fully healthy, I think they would have gotten out of that Chicago game handedly. And I don't even think they would have been playing Chicago. I think they would have been more of a threat to win the division if they didn't have all those injuries.
Right. Yeah, I'll talk about the Packers a little bit, but first I want to say, I don't know if you've noticed, you're a Vikings fan, you might not love this, but me being a big-time, obviously, Milwaukee Bucks fan and a Milwaukee Brewers fan, I catch myself with a lot of the Twitter X accounts I follow are also Packer fans. So I get a lot of Packers Twitter, And so I've kind of found the Packers to almost be my NFC team a little bit. I caught myself kind of cheering for them way too hard during that Bears game. I really do. When it comes to Jordan Love, I really like Jordan Love. I loved when they made a move for Micah. Anytime a franchise makes a trade for a player of that caliber, it's just respect because that's what the fans want. Dude, I dream of the Raiders making a big time trade for a big time player. That just, whether it works out or not, that just shows that your front office wants to fucking put a good product out there for you. So I respect the Packers. I love how they have not one set owner and it's fan owned. I think it's a really cool organization. So I want to get that out the way. And I'm gonna be cheering for the Packers going forward, especially after all the injuries they had this year. But what I will say about this year's playoff game, what a terrible choke job. Matt LaFleur, he's a really good coach. I don't believe he should be fired, but I do think he needs to look in the mirror this offseason and start saying, okay, I am a really good fucking football coach to a point to where I am winning at halftime a lot of more times than not. And I need to start coaching to fucking blow teams out and not to sneak by 1-score wins, because you saw how he changed up his play call in that second half, and that's what lost him the game. He ran the ball on 1st and 10 every single time he had it in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of 3-and-out situations played right into Ben Johnson's hands. I think if you're a Packers fan, that's just the most upsetting part because you like Matt LaFleur. You want to defend Matt LaFleur, but when he coaches scared like that, it doesn't make you like hate him, but it makes you worry like, okay, what happens when we aren't injured and we make a Super Bowl run and then all of a sudden we're up, 17-7 at half in the Super Bowl, and then he starts coaching like that, right? Like that's not how you win championships. You have to keep your foot on the gas, especially when you got a guy the talent of Jordan Love. I think it's important to note, Corey, we can look at every single quarterback performance in all of the playoff games so far. That Jordan Love performance against the Bears is the best quarterback performance so far. I mean, you could argue Josh Allen against the Jaguars. I want to say that Jordan Love, 350 yards, fucking 4 touchdowns, is probably the best performance so far. I mean, he didn't really make any mistakes.
But yeah, Jordan Love wasn't the problem at all in that game.
No, and I'm not trying to say people were saying he was, but I guess I'm more just trying to say when you have a player like Jordan Love, who I believe is kind of getting towards top 5 quarterback in the NFL level, you need to put the ball in his hands. You need to put the ball in his hands. I think that's an important thing that Matt LaFleur is going to have to do. So if I'm a Packers fan, like you said, it's injuries. I'm not worried. I just think that Packers fans, I'm kind of going into this episode about these teams lost in the playoff is how the fans should feel about how things are going. And if I'm a Packers fan, I just want LaFleur and the front office to just lean into the fact that we might have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and do everything we can to help him. One more thing, not to take this too long. I think Matt LaFleur is a good enough play caller that he could have found ways to get Matthew Golden more activated throughout the season other than just going downfield and using his speed. I mean, you saw the touchdown he scored. He clearly shows he has the ability to be effective in the offense. I would like to see I'd like to see him more involved in these gadgety type things until he shows he's more of a, actual wide receiver one. I don't think he is going to be that, but he can be a gadget guy. So the Packers, like all these things I'm saying, it's like they have so many positives going for them, and they're going to be in a place next year where I think they can go up against the Seattle or LA Rams or Eagles with, let's say the Eagles have a really good play call this year, or 49ers healthy. I think they can win. I think the Packers can get to a Super Bowl in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I agree. They do have a lot going for them. Jaguars, next team. Still another, we'll get into some of them that should be a little bit worried. But the Jags are in such a good spot because I came into this looking at it kind of like, what should the fans feel? You're telling me the Jags, who had no buzz on them, Liam Cohen's first year, there's people that didn't even know if T-Law was a franchise quarterback. This motherfucker finished top 5 in MVP this year, mind you. They completely flipped their record, won the division, hosted a playoff game. It just sucks that they had to draw the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round. But they did all this. You bring in Jacoby Myers, which was icing on the cake because they were good, and then they added Jacoby Myers, and I feel like they took them up another level because Brian Thomas Jr. is a so-so all year. Parker Washington's really their best receiver.
He's their best receiver.
Yeah. He led the team in receiving yards. And guess what? Now that you have Jacoby Myers, if you bring him back, Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., you know what? It's going to make it a lot easier. I know he wants to play both sides of the ball, but now you can focus on making Travis Hunter a true part of that defense at the cornerback spot because you don't need him so much on offense like you did.
Hit it on the head.
So now if he's able to specifically, get him offensive snaps, because we saw even in the game against the Chiefs earlier in the year, that was his kind of breakout performance game. Like, he can obviously play both sides of the ball. But I think with that defense and the way it turned its head this year, now you have Myers, Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., and Brandon Strange, and you have a good run game. The offense is so complete with Liam Cohen to where now let's use Travis Hunter to be our cornerback 1, cornerback 2. Like, let's use him in situations to where he's specializing more on defense. And yes, he will get his run offensively just because he's that talented. But if I'm the Jags and you did all this, won the division in a tough division with the Colts starting out hot and the Texans defense got hot late in the year, you're able to win the division. T-Law finished top 5 in MVP. Like, looking at that, and then you're telling me you didn't have Travis Hunter, your first-round draft pick, for all back half of the season. I think it's up in Jacksonville because I don't know what the Colts are. The Titans, who we'll get to in a little bit, like, they still have a lot of things to work out. And the Texans are in a very interesting spot because of how bad CJ Stroud plays. So I'm sitting here looking at the Jags, like the Jags might still be the most complete team in that division going forward, like with the offense and the defense and how everything's looking for them. And I think it's on the up and up for me personally.
I agree 100%. And really, we could talk about anything with them. I mean, you can. My biggest question mark, as good of a season he had, Corey, is still just going to be Trevor Lawrence. Is he going to be able to play this way? Is this going to be what he is? Is he going to be in the top quarterback conversations going forward? Because when you make a head coaching hire and in year one he makes this much of an impact, that right there tells me everything I need to know about where this franchise is headed. But this franchise will only go as far as Trevor Lawrence can take them at the same time. And I'm not doubting him by saying that. He lost to Josh Allen in a playoff game. It's okay. It's okay, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really okay. Yeah, I look at that Jacoby Myers trade. I'm not mad about the Raiders trading Jacoby Myers. I think that was going to happen regardless. I'm not going to look at that as we fucked up. I'd like to have him now, knowing that we're going to have Mendoza next year, but at the same time, it's one of those moves that you got to make. And then I just look at like the Jaguars defense, like they just got guys kind of all over the field. Like in every area, they're pretty balanced out, right? They don't have much of a weakness on defense. And then like you said about the Travis Hunter stuff, he just needs to become a full-time defensive player. And then kind of maybe like I was saying about just kind of being like a gadget guy on offense maybe, because dude, they're good. Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, and Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, you're an elite talent. You are not really close to any three of those guys offensively, in my opinion. Maybe I'm on casual watch for saying that.
And it's a crazy thing because, like, then if one of those guys do go down, then you just have Travis Hunter in your back pocket.
Wow.
Already.
Wow.
Yeah, like
Parker Washington, I don't know, Corey, if you've seen the clip. There was like some reels, TikToks going around of Parker Washington, his in-game reps versus top cornerbacks in the league versus Pro Bowl cornerbacks. I mean, he was absolutely frying everybody.
Yeah.
Like when they beat Denver, like he was, I'm pretty sure he like works Pat Surtain over like a few different reps. Pat Surtain's going to go down as one of the all-time greats at that position. But what it really came down to me that changed this team, you're talking about a team that traded Tank Bigsby, who people were saying was going to take the spot, and Travis Etienne Jr. was falling off as a running back. And we've talked about this before. What did Liam Cohen do in Tampa Bay? He had Rachaad White and Bucky Irving as a top rushing offense in the NFL. And that fell off for Tampa Bay when he left. And Travis Etienne Jr. became, I mean, the Jags running game, to me, is what really made them the offense that they were and opened up things and made Trevor Lawrence's life easier. And if Liam Cohen's going to be one of those guys like in the Ben Johnson category of just like, hey, my run scheme is better than anybody's, and running travels, whether we're playing on the road in fucking snow, we're at home, we're going to be able to run the ball down your fucking throat no matter who we're playing. And if they're going to have that going for them, Jags fans are going to be in for a good ride. I think that this is one of those scenarios, like you said, it's on the up and up. They could make really no moves this offseason, and I think they're still in a position to go back to the playoffs and win a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could run it back with this crew they have. I'm not fully sure who they're losing in free agency or anything, but as long as they're healthy with this team that they're going to bring back next year, I think they can win a playoff game. I'm excited for the Jaguars, and I think they're going to be the best team in that division as well. The Texans defense, they're going to have Petrie back and a lot of their guys. I'm not sure about Lassiter. Is that next year he's going to hit the market? But I think the Texans defense is still going to be there. But either way, I mean, the Jags are going to be an 11-12 win team to me next season. I'm excited for them. As long as Trevor, I'm telling you, they can only go as far as Trevor takes them.
Yeah, I agree. But we can get to the Texans. We'll first cover the Eagles, who had just, when I was watching that game, because I was always a believer, I was like, this team came off winning a Super Bowl. Yes, they look sloppy throughout the year, but like, gotta give them the respect coming off of a Super Bowl. Like, they could turn it up in the playoffs. Like, Saquon could get it going finally this year. But I think everything Saquon did to get them to the Super Bowl last year, all the yards, all the carries, all the production he gave them last year, I think it just really showed it takes an effect. Like, going in, and I feel like this year he was just gassed. I just think there was times where it's just like, yeah, the O-line had a bunch of injuries. I just think Saquon just kind of not regress as a player, but I just think he was gassed of all the. You got to think of all the yards and all the like he was doing so much for that offense. He was the engine that made that offense go last year, and I think that one bad play calling, O-line injuries, and I think he just kind of got gassed throughout certain points of the year. But my main takeaway, and this kind of be the first team where I'm just like, you just won a Super Bowl, I get it, but it has to be so, and I'm not an Eagles fan, it has to be so frustrating seeing reports about Sirianni doing this or reports about AJ Brown doing that. Like, I just feel like the noise that comes out of that locker room in Philadelphia is just so mind-boggling to me that I got to sit here and watch this Eagles offense with realistically a top just everything weapons room wise legit kind of shit the bed all game. There's no reason you should have an offense with Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, and legit go 3 and out to a Niners defense that legit is missing their top 5 to 6 best players on that side of the ball. There's just no explanation for it. And even on the last play of the game to kind of like even give them the Hail Mary chance to win that game, you have AJ Brown one-on-one on the perimeter. And yes, I know he dropped that ball and everything else like that. He needs to catch that. He's one of the best receivers in the world. Like, he has to catch that ball.
This is his worst game of his career.
Yeah. But I'm sitting here looking at Jalen Hurts' perspective, like, not under pressure at all. You throw to Dallas Goedert with the season on the line in triple coverage, like you don't have Smitty, like you don't have AJ Brown. That's just some of the stuff that's like questionable from Hurts to me. Is like, I'd rather give AJ Brown a one-on-one chance than Dallas Goedert in triple coverage when the entire
you would not in that game though. With how that game was going, you're not going to AJ. I agree with your sentiment.
I see both sides.
Yeah, okay. Yes,
I see both sides.
The throw was bad. I'm not trying to defend Hurts. Yeah. I'm just saying. Sorry to cut you off. But I do want to. I would like to debate a little bit when it comes to the Eagles here. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we did this week 4. I think we did this week 8. We do it every 4 weeks, I think. But I think you need to realize that Jalen Hurts was kind of in quarterback hell also that game. On paper, should he have been able to dice up that injured 49ers defense? Yes.
Yeah.
But that was just, you can't watch, there's no way you went away from that game saying that Jalen Hurts is why they lost that game. That's what I think.
No, I don't think Jalen Hurts is the reason they lost that game. I'm just saying my main gripe is like, why are certain things even a problem? Like, why is there so much drama out of Philly? Why is there every year, even when they won the Super Bowl, it's just so much drama? And I think it comes down to the head coach.
It does, but also everything that happens in Philly is amplified by their fan base. I mean, we could say this all the time. I mean, that everything that happens in Philly is amplified. I mean, we're doing sports media right now at this second, and in sports media, you talk about the Eagles, you overreact about the Eagles. This is what you do. It's just part of the game.
It's like Philly. It's like Philly in basketball. It's like the 76ers in the same 100%.
When they had Simmons and Embiid rolling, it was the same deal. What you're saying is correct, though. I just want to say about the Eagles real quick. I mean, I know it's an easy fallback for me. Jalen Hurts, I called him out for it. He's OC reliant, and he had a shitty OC. And I'm going to have to agree with you that Nick Sirianni cannot be the coach for this team any longer, and I do not give a fuck that he just won the Super Bowl. They had a super team. They had a Howie Roseman super team. We don't have to lie to ourselves and credit Nick Sirianni for that. So I'm going to agree with you.
My whole thing is like, he's not one. What schematic advantage does he bring? Which is none. You look at Sirianni to be
the guy
who make the head coaching hires, kind of like a Harbaugh. He's in the room because he's a leader and he's a great head coach, but he also makes the good hires at DC, at OC, special. Like, he's the guy hiring the staff. Sirianni, it's like Sirianni, like, he just has the title. I think he has the mindset of being like a really good coach to like deal with the Philly and, like you said, kind of the fan base and like how Philly can be at times. I think he does when it comes to that. He does a very good because he wears it. But I have a hard time believing if they went and hear me out. This might be a take. I kind of just thought about it off the top of my head because he's in the head coaching cycle. If they went and fired Sirianni tomorrow and picked up Mike McCarthy, who is a floor head coach of 10 wins or like 10 wins for sure, with this team, the Eagles would be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year. And like, I'm
I
not even saying
100%
Mike
agree with
McCarthy
that.
is a crazy
Clip
great
that
head
shit.
coach, but like, he's not even a crazy great head coach. But like, with what he brings
He's a
from a
great head coach,
schematic,
though. He's a great head coach.
But if you put him with the Eagles,
He's an elite head
there
coach.
he's like he's like I'm saying, I'm just like, there's just Sirianni is not as important as probably he thinks he is to that team. Like, just because you won a Super Bowl doesn't mean like they won't fire your ass if y'all miss the playoffs this year, because I think Dallas is going to be better, the Giants are going to be better, and I think the Commanders, if they got their shit together, could be better. Yes, the Eagles are still the most talented team in that division.
You said the Cowboys and Giants are going to be better than the Eagles next year?
No, I'm just saying like they're going to be better than they were this past year, in my opinion.
Oh, sorry, they're going to get better. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So
okay.
like, you're in a division where like you can't have 5 weeks where the offense looks so shit. Like, and you're just gonna be chilling. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I don't want to talk about the Eagles for too long, but like,
well, I'll say
but
too.
you go ahead.
When you're in Eagles territory, and also, by the way, I was lagging. I had to refresh, so apologies for that. I think how good you do in the regular season can get underrated a little bit, because that home field advantage is so overpowered. Just having to win 2 home games to go to the Super Bowl. It's not like the NBA where you can skate by with these. Like the Eagles, it felt like this year they were so good last year, and they were actually really good this year too. If you really think about it, so good to a point to where they could have these 4 weeks of hell, and everyone's still like, oh, they're fine, they're gonna be in the playoffs.
Oh, because the defense was elite. The defense was elite all year.
But like, at some point, that's going to run out, and you're not going to be able to fall back on that. And if you really want to be a dynasty, you need to get to that home field advantage as much as you can. You're not going to see it very often where there's like a Chiefs and Mahomes being able to go on the road for AFC title games and win it, or Tom Brady would do it all the time. But even then, Tom Brady, they would get the 1 seed a lot. Like, and I'm not saying the Eagles have to be that, but when you win the title the way you did, and you were in the Super Bowl 2 years before, and you have the best GM in football, and you built a super team last year, and you continuously win draft nights and win trades, it's like, I'm going to hold you to that standard of like being a dynasty, because that's what all the Eagles fans are going to expect out of them. And you need to be better in the regular season. You need to put yourself in position to where you don't have to go. And they might have had a home game this year, but they did have a home game this year. I'm not saying they didn't. I just think like they were a team. We were talking at the start of this year like they should be the 1 seed, no doubt. Seattle should not have got the 1 seed. If you really look at on paper at the roster, Eagles should have been the 1 seed in the NFC. That's just a fact. And I'm holding them to that standard because I know how good Jalen Hurts can be in big games. And I know that if Saquon Barkley has a better season, things go well. And I'm not blaming Hurts. I'm not blaming Saquon. I don't even want to put all the blame on the play calling, but you got to share the sugar around with the blame, and they didn't come ready to play. They did have the Super Bowl hangover, and that's not going to result in a dynasty. So that's what I have to say about the Eagles. I think that it's important to hold them to that high standard because that's where their fans are at. And if we're going to approach this episode of how the fans are going to portray it, the fans are definitely upset because I seen an Eagles fan on a show I listened to, and he pretty much said, like, he's like, us losing that playoff game, I expected to be way more mad about it, but really it was just ending a season-long nightmare that I wanted to be out of anyways. And you're saying that, and Eagles fans are the ones who get so emotional after playoff losses. That just tells you how bad this season was for them and how unenjoyable that offense was to watch, that they lost in the playoffs. And it was like, I think there was Eagles fans that almost felt some relief. Like, the season's over. We didn't deserve to win a playoff game. But I think the biggest thing that we should talk about from that game, we don't have to talk about it, but I'll just shout it out, is shout out to the Niners, dealing with all those injuries and winning a playoff game, even through it, beating the defending champs. So shout out to them for that 100%. You got rammed by the Seattle, but yeah. I don't know. I think it's okay to spend some time on the Eagles. Like, dude, that's a big market team with a passionate fan base, and whether you're Eagles fan or not, everyone loves the Eagles a little bit just because they're fun to talk about and they're, they get people going.
We can pivot to the Chargers, who had a stinker on Sunday night, 3-16. Herbert, I hate to say it, but it's one of those situations to where you have to give him and I don't even want to go down this route because I am a pretty solid Justin Herbert guy. But no right tackle, left tackle all year. They were able to kind of make it all work. But playoff football is just different. When you have the team, especially a team as good as the Patriots were all year, the defense was humming all night against the Chargers. And then the first couple snaps of the game, you lose to Marion Hampton for the rest of the game with the ankle. So it's just like, Jesus. But I'm more so up and up on everything that just happened with the Chargers season. If you're a Chargers fan, wash it away. Because you just got the best OC possibly in the league, a top 5 OC in the league, paired up with John Harbaugh. Now you're going to be going into a year where you have both your tackles back with that play calling from McDaniel. I'm looking already ahead to next year. Wash this one down the drain. I know you still have questions about Justin Herbert and the playoff success and like the turnovers and this and that and the third. But I'm more so looking at this. If I was a fan and I woke up and I saw Mike McDaniel as my OC going into next year with Justin Herbert, I'd be a little bit more happy than losing to the Patriots because, like, realistically, with both tackles being out, the chances of you making a deep run in the playoffs with some of these defenses like Texans and Denver, like it was always going to be a tough. It was always a tough matchup. Like say, so if they would have won this one,
head, you knew it was going to run out.
Like if we would have had disgusting talks about Justin Herbert if he with no tackles beat the Patriots and then went on to beat like Denver if they would have played Denver and like that defense in Mile High. Like it's just a tough thing to ask when you're losing both tackles and you're starting running back at the start of the year. And then like now you got McDaniel, you're going into year 3 of Harbaugh. Now the what ifs have to stop after this year. If they go and they're actually healthy throughout the year with McDaniel, I think the Chargers are going to be a sneaky seed team. But that's just me. If I'm a fan and we're going from the fans' perspective, I like McDaniel with Herbert and Harbaugh. I think it's a really good match. Thank God he pulled himself out of the Browns coaching job.
Corey, I appreciate you because what you're doing right now is ignoring the Herbert agenda I had all season, and that fell apart in the shittiest way, and you're just pushing it off, and I appreciate it. But man, I made a mistake. Not by believing in Justin Herbert. No, that's not it. But when I chose to come on here week 1, and probably my best monologue of the season, maybe that or the John Morant, was when I hyped up Justin Herbert.
You gave me a Nick Chills that episode.
I knew the whole time what I was doing. That, listen, he's in my division. He's in the Raiders division, right? And, the game comes around, and I don't like cheering for the Patriots. I loved Tom Brady. I really was hating on Drake May hard. Like that was one of my biggest hate watches. I'm not kidding. Like I wanted the Chargers bad. As a Raiders fan, I did. And then when the game happened, I'm like, okay, like this might be good. Because when the Raiders figure it out, we don't gotta worry about Herbert in the playoffs. He might just not have it in the playoffs. I love him, but I might just need to give this one up because we're getting Mendoza and I can just let go. Herbert, I'm cheering for you from afar, but not against us. You're in my division. I should have never picked this agenda up, right? And I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of a spin zone for this. It's all good. I can get out of this one now. I can ignore it. I can move on, and next year I can be a little quieter about my Justin Herbert love. But then my Raiders luck comes into play. And then Mike McDaniel decides, hey, you know what? Fuck being a head coach. I liked being in Miami. I like living in Miami. I'm going to go live in Los Angeles now where no one really cares about football. The fan base isn't that big of a deal. And I'm just going to be the play caller, and I'm going to save Justin Herbert's career. So now I'm just in mega hell of you got Patrick Mahomes going to be healthy with the Chiefs. You got the Denver Broncos being, when healthy, the best team in the AFC, having Sean Payton, maybe the best coach in football. Now you got Harbaugh, McDaniel, and Justin Herbert. It's a tough one, man. I want to start talking about the Raiders right now, but anyways, what my whole point is like, dude, I went to battle about Justin Herbert when I didn't need to. He's in my division, and he did let me down. But no, in all seriousness, dude, like, it's important to note, like you said, like, at some point it was going to run out with not having your tackles and not having the proper protection. And that Chargers offense was honestly a concern all season. It's like being a sports fan is so stupid in the NBA and in the NFL because there will be there will be an obvious like hole in a team, but they still can win with it in the regular season. But it's like, you should just like know that's going to get them in the playoffs, but you'll still be like, no, they got this guy, they'll still win. Like, and that was me picking the Chargers to go on to the AFC Championship game. And so, like, I feel like we should have known all along this was going to happen. I think it just sucks that it had to come at the cost of Herbert, like, also not scoring a touchdown. The Chargers offense literally being nothing. Like, it'd have been one thing if, he has an okay game, throws for like 200, a touchdown, a pick, and then he gets sacked on like a game-losing drive, and it's like, okay, he couldn't really do anything. He put up a fight.
Basically a shutout.
Yeah, that's just a bad look. That's a bad look, especially when I was coming on here and kind of doubting the Patriots defense. Really bad look for me.
They made the Patriots and we'll talk about with the Texans game specifically because I have a lot of thoughts on the Texans, and we can kind of pivot to that kind of in the same breath because we're talking about like the Patriots and like the Steelers. The Steelers, they got to find a head coach. I feel like we can wait to talk about the Steelers because we're going to go, who should they hire a head coach? And they haven't done that yet. And that's the biggest question mark for them now that Tomlin's out. So we can kind of pivot and talk about the Texans as well because the Texans and Chargers made the Steelers defense look so elite with how bad both O-lines are. And I think that defense is in for a rude awakening when they go on the road to Denver and play them boys in Mile High. Because that defense is not going to be getting to the quarterback like they were in these past 2 games in the playoffs. I promise.
The Broncos' O-line's incredible.
Yeah, so I don't think that defense is people are probably looking at it as this Patriots defense is like really turning its head in the playoffs. I'm seeing actually the opposite. I just think the Patriots defense is like
they have been the last like 10 weeks of football though a really good defense. I will say that, but you can also do what you do for Drake May and just bring in the schedule of who they've been playing. So I'm not pushing back on what you're saying. I do think they do deserve some credit.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, they haven't. You can keep going with that. I want to give them a little bit of credit because I'm going to shit on them too. Don't worry. I just want to give them a little bit of credit. They've been a better defense than the Broncos the last 8 weeks of football. That's a true fact.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, you can keep going about that. I apologize.
More so, I have kind of because we're pivoting into the Texans and we kind of talked about the Chargers and Herbert. The main thing I have is what exactly is the thing with the Texans and CJ Stroud? Because these were 2 alarming playoff games that just happened. He was not good against the Steelers, and he was not good against the Patriots whatsoever. There was actually real conversation on the call about Davis Mills getting the start in the second half because there was still a game. Like the Texans defense, like legit is so elite to where if they would have just found a way, if CJ Stroud didn't turn the ball over at least one more time, like they were well within the game the entirety of the game until late.
Bro,
they were there.
In the fourth quarter, they got their odds to like under plus 200 money line at one point. Like they were right there. They could have won that game. They were right there.
My main thing is like, because now, and this kind of sparked something just because I saw something about it on Twitter, is like, now the Texans are in a situation to where they have to think about CJ Stroud because they're going to have to pay him, right? Will Anderson's obviously the face of that defense. I think he's the face of the Houston Texans. They're locking him up like long-term because they're drafted in the same year. So it's like they're going to already look to pay him, Will Anderson, here soon. But now you're looking at CJ Stroud after bad playoff performances like this to where it's like, yeah, it's alarming. But I'm going to also ask that question, but also defend CJ Stroud because we talked about it on the pod. How do you go into the season with already kind of a piss poor O-line and then you trade your best tackle to the Commanders before the season? Like, that was just a red flag for me off rip, trading Tunsil. And then, like the O-line play and not being able to run the ball is so detrimental to a quarterback to where CJ Stroud, when you watch CJ Stroud his rookie year to now, CJ Stroud, there's multiple clips in the Steelers game where he had good protection, but he's so used to just getting lit the fuck up behind a bad O-line to where he acts like anytime he's dropping back, he's at risk to just get sacked. And he doesn't believe and trust his protection. You can clearly see that. But the main thing I will get mad at is knowing situation and your defense is so elite and they were holding the Patriots at bay. Some of those picks were just inexcusable. Take the sack, play field position, play field position. He was just trying to be a hero too much and trying to force the game when he should have just taken the sack, dirted the ball, played field position, give your defense more room to work with. But when you're giving the Patriots the ball in damn near red zone territory, like off rip, off of an interception, then it's the ones where he like is just throwing it up in the air for anybody to get. Just throw it away and give your defense a shot, because their defense kept you in it until like the last 6 minutes of the game.
Like
so it's on him, but it's
more.
also
they could have
on
won
them.
just by punting more.
Exactly, because the Patriots were giving them the ball right back. Drake May with fumbles and like all that other stuff, like they were giving them the ball right back. So the defense was doing enough to keep you in it. And I think CJ Stroud is also one to blame in a certain situation because of how he played at the end of the day. But I also look at it from just the bigger picture and like what realistically has this front office done to improve that offense. I know the defense is elite and the defense is easily a top 2 to 3 in the league by far. And they're in that upper echelon.
Number one.
But like what realistically have they done to improve the offense? Like your main big, you had Joe Mixon, but your main, and you knew Joe Mixon was hurt going into the year and he didn't even play at all. And your main thing to negate that is to bring in Nick Chubb, who's had years worth of injuries. That's well documented. You didn't bring anything in to help your O-line at whatsoever. You traded your best tackle to the Commanders, and the Commanders had a shit year, so that was basically a nothing trade at the end of the day. So it's like, what have you really done? Yeah, you lost Tank Dell, but you didn't really bring in anybody, and I like their draft picks, their young receivers, but you could have, and Christian Kirk came on late in the year, and you still had Schultz, but like in a week where you had Nico Collins get hurt, Dalton Schultz get hurt in the first couple snaps of the game, and your O-line, and you couldn't even run the ball at all, and your best back is Woody Marks, who's more of a receiving third down back. I see both sides of it.
I think this, and this isn't to excuse the front office. This is honestly to say that they fucked up even worse, because if we're being completely honest, even after trading Laremy Tunsil, the O-line for the whole season, not saying in this Patriots game, but they did protect CJ Stroud better than they did last season without Laremy Tunsil. So that just goes to show you, if you didn't make that trade and you had Laremy Tunsil with a slight improvement of the O-line, that just makes life for CJ Stroud a lot easier. And even a guy like Woody Marks, he came on a little bit late in the season, and he kind of started playing a little bit better. So now I'm looking at, okay, if you're not trading Laremy Tunsil, now the O-line actually might be like middle of the pack, honestly, because they were, at least in the regular season, playing better for Stroud than they were last year, just compared to last year. Not saying good.
Second year was a wash for Stroud because of how bad the O-line was.
It was so bad. That's why it's like they're probably going to use the Laremy Tunsil trade to justify, like, hey, our O-line numbers are better. No, dude, they actually could have been at a playoff level, though, if you kept Tunsil. And also, like, where were you in the Breece Hall sweepstakes? Where were you in getting a legit back for him? You know, there's all these things. You have a million receivers. They're wide receiver 4. One of those receivers they could have traded, honestly, as well for some stuff, too. They didn't need all those guys. Shout out C. Kirk. He came on well late in the season. I also want to defend CJ Stroud in the way that Nico Collins wasn't playing in that game. Not saying they win it with him, but he's a top 5 receiver maybe on some people's list in the NFL, probably more like top 7. It would have just been a lot easier to be in that game if he's playing.
Having Nico Collins out there, top whatever receiver,
he's to me a top 5 receiver in the NFL. There's a lot of things about the offense. And defensively, there's absolutely nothing you can say. I mean, even with how much of a shit show that was, that defense, they put on a masterclass literally every single game. Like, they put on a defensive masterclass every single time they were on the field after week 3. It was unbelievable. And they're going to have that for them. And I want to give a big shout out to DeMeco Ryans. I think he's actually in like the top tier of NFL coaches. I really do believe that. Yeah. And big time shout out to him. It helps that he knows he has job security. But for him to go to that presser after the game and say that, and 1, to not bench CJ Stroud no matter how bad it was, and 2, to go to that presser after the game and say that CJ Stroud's his quarterback, I have a lot of respect for that, because I'm a big CJ Stroud fan and I really hated how he played. He played like absolutely dog shit, like ass. I can't defend that. But there is something to be said about how quick this league is to move on from quarterbacks, coaches, and, you know, and I think that D'Amico Ryan's understanding that, like, his job could be on the line at any point for him to ride with his guy who we got to remember this guy's still on his rookie deal as well. I mean, the extension talks are going to come, but you got to think glass half full when you got a quarterback that you're not dedicating that much money to right now and think of all the possibilities that you could give. Sure, maybe they wait and they don't extend him yet and they push it back towards next year. That could only make the team better, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that the Texans are in a position to win. Like, there's flaws with Drake May that doesn't have me putting the Patriots in that, oh, they're just going to be running the fucking table from now on. Bo Nix is really good too. There's flaws there too, though. The AFC, we went into this playoffs saying everything's wide open on both sides. So for all these teams that we're talking about, I'm going to keep the same energy for next year. I think some shit shook in a certain way that showed us some things about some teams, what they need to improve, what they need to, get rid of or whatever it is. But to me, the NFL is still wide open to a point to where I don't think any of these teams that lost any of these playoff games should overreact too much, and especially the Houston Texans, because you have the best defense in football. You have CJ Stroud, who I still believe in can be a good quarterback, given a good offensive line. He's a fucking pocket passer. What do you expect? He made some boneheaded mistakes. These mistakes could have came in week 11 when he probably had a good game. It's just how the sport works. You don't give up on a guy right now. And for anyone who's saying you should, you weren't saying that 3 weeks ago when you're the hottest team of football and the scariest team of football. You lost to a team on the road in the snow. Your quarterback turned the ball over in the snow a shit ton. So did the other team's quarterback. They happened to win the game. Texans fans, you should feel good. You have a really good coach. You have the best defense in football. You got a quarterback on the rookie deal. You got a really good receiving room. Get a running back, get an O-line. It'll be fine. I'm feeling good as a Raiders fan right now, and our O-line's worse. We don't have a quarterback yet. That's proven. We don't have receivers. You guys have Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, and fucking Higgins and Noel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Texans, I think it's important that we talk about them because I think we both feel like they are still a scary-ass team. Because
for sure,
with how bad that game went, they could have pulled out the win, and I don't think a lot of people would have been too surprised. Like,
yeah,
I'm saying like mid-third quarter. Like, hindsight, sure. But, like, they were in it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Stroud will be fine. Stroud has had good playoff games. Stroud doesn't have this playoff thing. He has a fucking line issue. That's what it is.
And then we have three more teams to talk about. I think we can get through the Niners one quick because I think the consensus is good season for the Niners. A ton of fucking injuries.
Too much radiation at that stadium.
Yeah, apparently they're investigating that for real, which you can't leave any stone unturned. And they should. I think it's very interesting because it is very alarming how the injuries did pile up for them. But if you're the Niners, if I'm going into the offseason, I think you're good. Have a top 3 coach in the sport. I think that's the best you've seen Purdy play in some time. Obviously not the Seahawks game, but that's a tough task with all the injuries and then going up against Seattle defense on the road. Like, that was just always going to be a tough ask on that side of the bracket. But if I'm looking at Purdy playing the best ball we've seen him play in a minute, CMC clearly still has the juice.
Purdy's a certified baller, by the way. We need to stop. Mm-hmm. We need to stop. I just want to cut you off real quick. We need to stop the whole don't know where he's really at. I mean, he's right there in the top 10. Like, I mean, Purdy's a baller. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I think he's easily a top 12, 13 guy, depending on who you're talking to.
That's real, yeah.
I think he's definitely a top 10 to 13 guy. But just looking at the Niners and what they have, you're going to get Bosa, Warner back. Like, you're going to get your guys back. Now, I do think they need to go figure out the receiver position because Ricky Pearsall, he's just too injury prone. I know you can say that about the entire Niners roster, but we haven't even seen Ricky. Yeah, but even then he came back and it's just like he has a ton of like knick-knack injuries. Yeah, like he was good after that, and it just seems like he has all these like knick-knack injuries. Like Kittle was just such a tough blow. Yeah, so like they need to go find themselves a true number one. Because I think Pearsall is nice in kind of certain situations, but I don't look at him as a one. Like,
what about Jennings?
They need to go get. I love Jennings, but he's also a free agent though. But I think if Jennings is your 2,
he's like a A to S tier number 2 receiver though.
Mm-hmm. No, he's
Number
nice, but I
two.
think they're
Number two.
missing that guy in that offense. They're missing that weapon in that offense that
Yeah,
separates.
he's driving 120 miles per hour right now. That's where he's at. That's who they're missing.
Man,
No, I'm just
man,
playing. He was supposed
it's
to be
just
the truth, though. Brandon Ayuk was supposed to be the truth.
yeah, he was for a while.
PFF had him on the craziest stats. You seen his you know how they were grading him, like how he gets open more than anyone in the NFL. That shit's sad. That shit should have worked out for them. Because after they lost in the bowl, it was like, no. Debo, you're good. Brandon Ayuk's the wide receiver one.
And the last thing I'll say before we pivot off the Niners just shows how great the front office is and how great of a coach Kyle Shanahan is. Because you got to think, what organization and franchise could whiff on a quarterback like Trey Lance all those years ago, turn the last pick in the draft into Brock Purdy, and turn him into a top 10 to 13 quarterback in this league? Your wide receiver one is not even in the building. The owner said he hasn't seen him in months, or Kyle Shanahan said he hasn't seen Brandon Ayuk in months.
Changed his phone number.
Building. And you're telling me, oh, we just in a hurt season we lost two of the top 10 defensive players in football, and Bosa and Warner, depending on who you're talking to, and then we just almost won the division, almost had a shot. We were playing for the 1 seed actually in the NFC in the last week. So that's all I gotta say about the night. If you're a Niners fan, don't even trip with the injuries and shit, because Kyle Shanahan's that good of a coach to where he's gonna get you back to this situation again.
Yep.
The only person I will say they can't have hurt, and we've seen it happen, if CMC get hurt, wrap it up. Yeah. But if he's healthy, they got a shot any game.
Even then, Kyle Shanahan has shown he can put out a good run offense without CMC. Like, he got Jordan Mason.
It's the receiving with CMC that puts them back.
That takes them to the next level for sure.
Yeah.
I'll just shout the Niners real quick. Like you said, we don't get to spend too much time, but I'll shout them out just in the fact that they were not really a team anyone talked about throughout the year. They just quietly handled their business, and then all of a sudden you're watching them on prime time playing for the 1 seed. And they did put out a stinker that game, but that shouldn't take away from what they did this season. Like you said, especially with the circumstances. Shout out to the Niners. We don't have to really talk about how their fans should feel, because I think Niners fans kind of know by now, hey, we're a top-tier organization with a top-tier coach, and we're going to always be in the mix unless injuries kill us too much like they did last year. And even they did this year. And even with that, you won a playoff game. It'd be awesome to be a Niners fan. They got to move that stadium, though. I kind of believe in that radiation shit. And even if it's not true, just having that thought in your head is kind of that's weird. Just a toxic thought. That's terrible to have in the back of your head as a fan or even as a player being there. You shouldn't have to worry about that. That's ridiculous. And they have one of the older stadiums, if I'm not mistaken, in the NFL.
Yeah.
So they should probably be looking to move. Quick side note, did you see the Commanders stadium they're building and they're going to have in 2030?
No.
It's fucking sick. It's like a White House design. They got the pillars all the way around. It's fucking fire. Sick, dude. It's so cool. It's really cool.
It's fire.
Hot. It's hot.
Then kind of, because I think we'll talk about the Bills and their coaching talks in a second, so we can kind of tap into the Bears before we get into the coaching stuff, because I feel like we'll talk about the Bills because they have the opening at the head coaching spot still. So we'll wait on that. So we can talk about the Bears. Thoughts for the Bears, obviously up and up as well. I think they should have went for it. I know that's the big talk. I think they should have went for it, and I know they got the stop on the Rams in OT, but you would have had a chance with the momentum after the crazy Caleb play to go for 2 and win the game. That's what's so confusing to me, because I'll see Ben Johnson go for it first quarter, own territory, not pick it up, and then the Rams quick score. We just saw that against the Packers too. Just bad, just situational football in some situations. I still like Ben Johnson as a coach and his mentality and what he's brought to Chicago, but I was so shocked they didn't go for the win there.
Yeah, if you're going to be the aggressive coach, you can't pick and choose. You just got to always be the aggressive coach, right? If you want to be the go for it guy, be the go for it guy, but you can't in the big moment pull back and then not be the go for it guy, because that's
imagine they walk off the Rams on that 2-point conversion.
It'd be insane. And if you lose, I don't think any fans are oh my gosh, why didn't we take it to overtime and play against the Rams in overtime? you were not the better team. You don't want to go to overtime. I
Hmm.
get the whole like go to overtime at home thing. You weren't the better team. You got to go for
I
the
just
win.
Stafford's one of those quarterbacks where he's labeled with like he's not really labeled in those top 3 conversations like that when everybody's healthy and everything, but we know what Stafford's about. He's just on the older end of his career. But like he's one of those Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar to where it's like I'm not giving them a chance to get this ball back in OT. And I know they got the stop to start OT.
He's the
Yeah,
MVP.
but I'm just not giving the MVP of the league a chance to beat me in OT. And especially when I'm looking at the momentum Chicago had, there's 2 plays that swung the game. It's them not going for it on that 2-point conversion to end the game. If you get it, you get it. I think Bears fans would have been happy if you would have went for it and tried to win. Yeah.
You're the best offensive mind in football, I thought. You got to play. You have a play. And even if it doesn't work, you have Caleb who can get you out of any situation. He can scramble,
Right.
make something play. You got to go for it. I'm so with you.
And then they had a 3rd down in OT where they sent the blitz. And the second I saw them send everybody, I was like, oh, Puka for 5 yards, and they're going to end the game right here. Because I'm like, you're blitzing Stafford, a veteran quarterback, in a big moment, and then Puka's just wide. Just wide. Like that was, I was like, so once they sent everybody, I was like, wow, you can't send everybody there. You just got to get into zone and pray.
No.
Because once you send it to everybody, you can't give a layup to Stafford like that to Puka to end the game, end your season. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like, listen, I want to be really happy for Caleb and the Bears fans, and I am, because at the end of the day, like, we can get to kind of what we're like doing this episode about, right? It's like how the fan base should feel. I think that's kind of the way we've been approaching this. They should feel great. You got Ben Johnson, you got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been a little bit overrated this year, but not for a bad reason. It's been because he makes those big plays. But at the end of the day, that overratedness is because of the moments that he shows you that he can be a top quarterback in the league, right? When I call him overrated, I don't mean he himself is overrated. I think, though, because of his situation, the team he plays for, and the big time plays, that he makes, it's like put this type of pressure on him that he's just not all the way there yet. And what I mean by that is I'm not gonna harp on the completion percentage. A lot of that has to do with there's some context to that, but there's some truth too. He's not the most accurate sometimes. And like on that last play, a lot of people are quick to blame DJ Moore because they want to defend their quarterback. And DJ Moore is, he's the declining receiver, even though he had a great game that night. And yeah, maybe he wasn't running his route very hard, but either way, I watched that play back a lot. I don't think Caleb threw a good ball there at all on that interception. And I'm not blaming Caleb for the loss because he's the only reason that fucking interception even happened, because he made a godly like play. And I love Caleb.
I will say on that play, I'm not even hating because they showed a different angle of before when Caleb was scrambling back. They would never call it in that situation. That was the clear OPI when I was like, how is Cole Kmet that fucking open? Like,
he pushed
I know what you're talking
off
about. So much.
Yes, on the big play. I know. But at the same time, though,
I just wanted to bring that up because I saw the angle and I was like, damn.
But push off or not, it doesn't change
crazy
the throw.
Play. The throw was crazy.
Like, even if he didn't, like, let's say it's incomplete because he doesn't push off and it's like contested, like where he was able to place that ball, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of in the camp of Caleb has a lot of work to do, but at the same time, if you're a Bears fan, it's okay to just acknowledge that. Bears fans, you don't have to push. You don't have to say Caleb is this top quarterback in the league yet. I think he's there. Like, I bet we do a quarterback rankings episode here, like at the end of next summer, and Caleb is probably going to be around our top 10. I mean, I'm being realistic. I think there's a real world where he's around that range.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's just the truth, and that's okay. But I don't know. I think for Bears fans, though, you're happy. You got, like, the same thing I said about Liam Cohen. You got a guy who's going to guarantee that you can run the ball really well in Ben Johnson. You got a guy who has some fucking shit to him. So does Liam Cohen. I meant to say that. He's got some shit to him. Did I like what he did with LaFleur? I really didn't. Maybe just because I was hate watching the Bears that whole game. I didn't like the handshake at all. I thought it was a little corny. I hate using that word too because you could really call anything any professional sports coach or player does corny. Just shake his fucking hand and look him in the eye, though. It's Matt LaFleur. He's done more than you in this game. You can't accept that, but he has. Shake his fucking hand and look him in the eye. You can clip that too and post that. I'm just playing. No, but I like Ben Johnson though. He's got some shit to him. He's gonna. One thing I'll say, I'm not a fan. But when the city of Chicago has good sports going on, that shit is rocking.
It's better. It's just
rocking.
better with sports, yeah.
And shout out to them for that. Really shout out to them for that. Us being from Iowa, you dang near Illinois, like you really feel it because a lot of our buddies,
it's a different buzz.
They're
it's a
Bears
different
fans,
buzz.
and it's like it's one of those deals where you don't want to cheer for them, but then when you see everyone how excited they get, like the Cubs in 16, the Bulls when they had D Rose, and right now the Bears, it's a different energy in the Midwest. So shout out to them for that. The Bears fans got a lot to be excited about. No matter how anything shakes out, you're gonna have a healthy Rome Odunze, Luther Burden showing some upside, Colson Loveland could be a top 5 tight end, Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. I mean, it's great.
It's up.
Let's dedicate this offseason to the defense.
Pass rush.
That's what I say.
Pass rush.
And shout out to their defense in that Rams game, though. That might have been the best game their defense has played all year.
Yeah. I agree. And we can kind of pivot into some of the coaching. This is the hirings and everything else is going to be a little bit longer of an episode, but we do have a lot to talk about. But
yeah. We do. It's been, you take 2 weeks off, you can do 2.5 out. You can do 2 something out. Yeah. You take a couple weeks off, you can put some work in. We can put some work in.
So we can get it right into it. Giants with John Harbaugh.
Great. The Giants. It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
I think you can look at it as, I want the sexy play caller, I want the this and that, but when you are in the position the Giants are in, I just think that level of stability is important. I don't like some of the things John Harbaugh did as the Ravens head coach, but I think it's okay to be the Giants and just be like, hey, we're not the Ravens right now. We don't have our Lamar Jackson. We aren't in that position where we have to win playoff games. A floor raiser is nice to have, especially in that division. Because John Harbaugh is a guy that could go win games in division because he knows his stuff. He's a good coach, and Scadabo's going to be healthy. I think he's a legit player. I know he's a big social media guy, all this. My question with them, though, I know this is supposed to be about the coaching hire, but I was a little bit skeptical of if Jackson Dart's really the guy. Not because of how he plays. He's a fucking gamer, and I love him, but he goes to that tent a lot. He gets hurt a lot, but John Harbaugh was a guy that if I could have gotten almost every job, he chose the Giants job. That means he believes something that Jackson Dart has, and that's a little bit interesting to me. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about that? Because when you got a coach like Harbaugh, he's one of the top guys in the portal or the carousel, I should say. He chooses the Giants. That can only mean he believes in something with Dart, right? Because if he didn't, he would stay away.
I think it's a mix of believing in Dart, but also having control on his vision of the team. And you got to think, the Giants have a lot going for them. You got to think, you have Jackson Dart, who is a gamer. Scadaboo's a gamer as well. The O-line could use some work, obviously, but I think it would be beneficial. Like, you have Tyrone Tracy, who I like, who I think they have a good pairing for the long term with him and Scat. And then you got to look, Malik Neighbors is the top-end receiver in this league. With the bad quarterback play, he was still able to produce and put up numbers. You're going to have him to probably start next year. Then you're looking at just what else you have. I love Rondell Robinson, who's going to be a free agent. I hope they bring him back because he's just such a good slot guy at his size and his speed that I think he fits really well with this offense. And then you got to look at the defense. Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, like everything that you're building on the defensive side. We talked about it all year going into the season that the Giants have one of the best D-lines in the league. They just need a coach that can put it all together. And I think Harbaugh is a good guy to do that because he's really good at just hiring. When do the Ravens miss a ton of draft picks as well? Like, I'm giving all the hiring power and the draft pick power to Harbaugh because when
Kyle
were the Ravens
Hamilton.
whiffing on
Zay
draft picks?
Flowers.
Like, I just think it's a perfect match. I do, because we'll get to the Falcons and we can kind of talk about that one next. But Stefanski is like, I liked Harbaugh in either the Giants or the Falcons because they both had young up and coming offenses, and they were two teams that needed to have a concrete floor. And I think they both teams got that with their coaching hires, and I think they both had really good coaching cycles this year. But to kind of wrap up on the Giants is like I agree. I think it's a mix of Dart seeing something in him and also control on what his vision is going to be for this team. Now, a lot of people are going to be high on the Giants going into next year, and we got to see how this offseason shakes out for them because they have another top 10 pick. Like, they have a bunch of different routes that they could go. But I think it's on the up and up, and I think this is an A+ hire for the Giants, in my opinion.
Okay, I thought you were gonna kind of be going the other way. When I first started talking, I thought you were kind of a little bit like skeptical on it, which would have been fair. I'm glad we're on the same page with that because I think it's important to not just like I'm gonna say it again, like that floor raising aspect for a bad team, and that's what I thought Pete Carroll was gonna bring for the Raiders, right? And I think he could have if it was like 6 years ago.
There's also just a lot. The foundation of the team wasn't as strong as people thought going into the year.
But like just having that championship DNA in your office, that's so big. Like it is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think Pete, like I'll shout out Pete quick, not to make this about the Raiders, but like even with how bad we were, like he still was able, not when it came to winning football games, but like he had respect of the guys. We just had a shit ass team, and that's okay. And Harbaugh's gonna have more than 1 year because of his age. It's not gonna be like that. So even if next year goes terrible, I think the Giants just say, "Hey, you trust Harbaugh? You get another draft, we're good." And if 2 years go bad, then you fire him. But really good draft pick. I love the Harbaughs. They're really good. They're just fucking football guys, and I love it.
And then pivoting to the Falcons, getting Kevin Stefanski, which I think it's tough because if he would have waited till after the Bills game, I think he would have been the top candidate to get the Bills job. But the only question I have for the Falcons is I like him as an offensive mind, and Bijan, Drake London. I think they should bring back Kyle Pitts because could get extended. Who knows what they're going to do with him? But what are they doing at quarterback? Penix is injured. I think they roll with Kirk Cousins because I do back
Penix
Stefanski.
will be healthy though next year, right?
Maybe not to start the year. Can
you refresh me who is injured?
Yeah.
Surgery next week. Anyways, keep going.
But so looking at that, I think he is it's a refreshing thing to have somebody like Kirk Cousins. Because I feel like Stefanski's just been dealing with bullshit quarterback after bullshit quarterback, like rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, or guys that just don't have it. So I think it's going to be refreshing to have him with a veteran that's been around, like Kirk Cousins at least a little bit. And like Kirk Cousins, they won 5 of their last 6. If Kirk Cousins starts the whole year, we kind of talked about it, they probably end up in the playoffs. Like, because Kirk Cousins was hooping at the end of last year. He's just a pure game manager that knows exactly what he needs to do from the quarterback position. He knows exactly who he needs to get the ball to.
When the season ended, they were the best team in that division. They were playing the best football in that division. Keep going, though. Yeah.
So I just think it's going to be a good match. It's going to be a good match. I think with Bijan and what he's able to do with that offense, I'm really excited. And I think the defense finally turned its head. I think the defense because that was the problem the past couple of years in Atlanta. The defense just wasn't good enough to really win that division, competing with the Bucs, who had like at the peak of the Bucs, like. So I think now that Stefanski's in the room and in the building, I think the offense is going to be able to take a jump with the Falcons because I think they're in a winnable division. I think it's a really good job. But I do think if he had the opportunity to like wait it out a little bit more, I think he would have been able to snag that Bills job. But I think the Bills already kind of know what guy they're going for in that realm, and we'll get to that. But I think it's a good hire by the Falcons, in my opinion.
I want to say about that Bills job you brought up before I get into Kevin Stefanski. I don't know if that's as good of a job as we might think it is. If you saw how their owner and GM handled that press conference, that might be one of the worst jobs. That might be one of the worst jobs in football from a head coaching standpoint because of 2 things. 1, the expectations. If you don't win a playoff game, you failed. Shout out to Josh Allen. That's just the reality of it. That's why. 2, your owner and GM, what the fuck was that? That might have been the most embarrassing professional. I mean, I'm not a billionaire like he is, but I think I'd be able to fucking handle interview a little bit better than that. That might have been the worst showing. It maybe just showed you how unserious professional sports is a little bit with some of these owners. And it just shows like, and it makes me feel so bad for Bills fans, not to get on a big tangent, but I mean, you talk about the history of that franchise, of how passionate those fans are and how many Super Bowls they lost in a row at one point, and then for it to end like this the year that Mahomes isn't there, and then all of that happens, right? And you're like, okay, we still got Josh Allen, we got a good future, but then that guy opens his mouth, and now it's like, wait, maybe we don't. Anyways, I don't know how good of a job that is. I don't know if they get as good of a hire as we think they're going to. I think the Ravens is a better job. I think the Falcons was a better job. And so to talk about the Falcons, Kevin Stefanski, I do want to push back a little bit. I don't take Skip Bayless very serious, but I did think it was interesting when he brought up that Kevin Stefanski has a little bit of arrogance, and he brought up the Baker Mayfield situation and how Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield's a guy who will speak his mind. He said, "I'm excited to play you twice a year." There's clearly some beef there. So I don't know if I'm okay, if I trust how Stefanski handles quarterback situations. I don't think Shadur Sanders is a good quarterback by any means. I do think he handled that poorly, though. I think he was a little bit late to the party of understanding that the obvious choice is to go with Shadur because Dylan Gabriel's giving you nothing and you don't really have another choice. Probably should have been Shadur sooner. I don't really love Shadur as a starting quarterback in the NFL yet. He showed a little bit. But at the same time, like Stefanski, I'm not gonna sit here and call him arrogant. I don't have inside information like that at all. I will say though, this Falcons job, is this the third time in a row where this has been a sexy job that hasn't worked out for Raheem Morris and Arthur Smith, right? Like Arthur Smith
Yeah.
took this job and it seemed like a great job to get. Raheem Morris' job seemed like a great job to get. It never really worked out that way. But what I will say, to agree with you, all we've really seen since the Baker Mayfield days is Stefanski with a shitty offensive situation, and he's an offensive coach. He's had great defenses. When you look at their defensive lines, it's been incredible. It's going to be interesting to see how Stefanski manages a team that's weapons based. The Falcons'
Hmm.
defense at the start of the year was good, and at the end of the year was good. Had a really rough stretch down the middle there. But what I will say is, like, you're talking about a team that's weapons based. When you think about a Kyle Pitts, a Drake London, who I love, obviously Bijan Robinson, one of the most electrifying players in football, Tyler Algier, who could be a starting running back on, half the teams in the NFL, maybe you could argue.
Hmm.
We could honestly get into that sometime. I do want to do a Would You Rather on Tyler Algier one time. That would be some dorky shit, but I want to do it. Anyways, my point is it'll be interesting to see Stefanski with an actual quarterback. And we said the Kirk Cousins thing. It kind of seems like Browns vibes with that. No, Kirk Cousins is good. Kirk Cousins is good. He still is good. And when Penix comes back, I want Penix to start over Cousins, no matter how Cousins is playing, because that's just what you have to do. And Penix throws a nice ball. I just want to see Stefanski with these weapons. But I think it's going to be a situation where we know halfway through the season if this is going to work or not. So if I'm the Falcons GM, I'm telling Kevin Stefanski, hey, you're our guy, but show us. Show us right now, or else it's going to be done. Because our fans are done with this shit. They're done with this shit. You don't get the job done, you're out. We're going to get a new guy. Because you have all these people, no matter all the games you lost, how bad your winning percentage is. Don't forget, motherfucker, Raheem Morris's winning percentage is better than yours. People think you're a better coach because you were with the Browns. They didn't treat you right in Cleveland. They didn't help you out in Cleveland. Okay, then show me. Because Raheem Morris, I just fired Raheem Morris. He has a better winning percentage than you. So you got to show me some shit. You won a playoff game. Shout out to you. Come do it in Atlanta or else you're gone. I think Stefanski's a great hire, but I don't think they should treat him like their guy. I don't think they should act like they got this home run hire. I think the pressure's on Stefanski. It really is.
I see your side of it.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I've been a Stefanski defender. I think last time when Nick was here, me and him were both saying that they've been treating him like a puppet. That might be true, but you got to show us now because you have weapons. And don't let fucking Kirk Cousins be the excuse because he's paid higher than anyone and he gets the job done. So Stefanski, pressure's on. That's what I got to say about that one. That's an interesting one to me, and I got a magnifying glass on it. I'm serious. And I'm going to be on the Falcons' case next year because I think the NFC would be a lot better if Bijan and Drake London were playing playoff football. That's just
I'm going to pivot and go to my favorite hire. Home run hire. Robert Saleh to the Titans. It got a lot of little flack for it from what I was seeing on Twitter. I love it. I understand, like you kind of said, everybody wants this hot shot, flashy OC. A lot of that shit don't come about. A lot of that shit. Sometimes every cycle doesn't have a Ben Johnson, McDaniel, KOC like in the past couple years.
I like
not
this,
every
Corey.
cycle has that.
I like this.
But
We're on
like
the same page right now.
Sometimes you gotta get a guy you can bring in and establish that culture. That's what Vrabel was about in Tennessee. All those years with Tennessee where they were good, the fucking culture was always there and solid. Robert Saleh, after what he just showed you with the Niners, with the hurt defense, I know the Titans don't have this amazing defensive personnel, but they have one of the highest cap spaces available going into free agency. They have a top end draft pick this year. You like Cam Ward. I still like Cam Ward. They just need to give him some fucking weapons and some help on that side of the ball. Which you have all this cap space to do that. And now you bring in a guy in Robert Saleh to run your defensive side of the ball. They just need to get the offensive coordinator position right for Cam Ward. And Robert Saleh is going to bring that culture. I think Robert Saleh brings a really good floor to the Tennessee Titans, which is something they need. They just need some consistency through the building. Now you have Cam Ward after a shitty first year where you gave him pretty much nothing to even work with for real. Like you bringing in Saleh, that culture in Tennessee is going to be right, especially in that division. Robert Saleh adding to that division is going to make that division even harder on the other three teams.
I want to shout out one thing too. Liam Cohen versus Robert Saleh twice a year. Did you see after the 49ers and Jaguars game, those two fucking almost fought? Robert Saleh wasn't too worried about it. Liam Cohen was turned up. I'm not picking a side. I actually respect the shit out of both of those guys. They fucking hate each other. That had a lot to do with why Robert Saleh wanted to coach the Titans. I promise you that. He fucking hates Liam Cohen. Watch that video if you get a chance. Corey, though, my favorite thing about this hire is the Titans had interviews scheduled. They had other interviews scheduled. Saleh had other interviews scheduled. He went and interviewed. They didn't let him leave the building. He got hired. They didn't let him leave the building. He blew their socks off. And that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, Robert Saleh, I got a lot of fucking respect for that guy because you look at his time in New York, he had a shitty owner that fired him for no reason when he had nothing to work with offensively, and he had that team playing way better than they should, and it's just shown this year. Everything since he's been gone has just been worse. He was never the problem. He was the brightest spot the New York Jets had in his one head coaching tenure. And I hate to pick on the Jets, but it only makes sense that Robert Saleh goes somewhere else and it works out, and it didn't for them. And I think he's just a guy like Cam Ward. I believe in Cam Ward so much that Cam Ward doesn't need this offensive genius brained coach to get it done. Robert Saleh is going to bring in a good enough OC to work with Cam Ward. And Robert Saleh is just going to set a culture like you said there. And in that division especially, that can go a really long way. That really can go a long way if you look at the history and where those teams are at. And I'm really excited about it. And I'll just circle back to it. The fact they didn't let him leave the building tells me a lot about Robert Saleh's character. I mean, we're talking about a guy that he turned a penny into a dime, you could say. I mean, he didn't do much with the Jets, but they didn't have much going, and he's competing every night.
That Jets defense was top tier. Exactly. All those years Saleh was there. It's the offensive side.
Saleh leaves, and what's his name? DJ Reed, Sauce's other corner. He fell off a cliff. There's a lot of defensive players who fell off a cliff after Robert Saleh left. He was creating top defenses out there. And then he's like, hey, I have high value in this league. I'm going to go play for the best coach in football, Kyle Shanahan, potentially. He goes there. Everyone's injured. And he goes and shuts down the Eagles offense, which isn't saying much, but I'm more just stating the fact that they won a playoff game with really no personnel on that defense. And you can remember me even questioning that 49ers defense going into this year. Never once did I mention that Robert Saleh is their DC, and that was my mistake because I should have known no matter what their personnel was. I mean, me and Nick got into an argument one time about the 49ers defense. I was saying they're not good because their personnel wasn't good, which I think was kind of true even before the injuries. I don't think they had all that personnel for real. Robert Saleh shut me up. I mean, he knows how to scheme up against anything. And I'll tell you what, right now, like there's going to be some real wars against Jacksonville, especially with Liam Cohen. There's going to be some real dirty-ass football games with whatever he creates in Tennessee with that defense versus Houston's defense. And then if I'm Indianapolis, I'm thinking we better figure this thing out and get back to where we were at the start of this season, or else we're going to be the bottom of that division. Because Robert Saleh, I trust him more than Shane Steichen to win football games.
It's going to be interesting.
And shout out to Shane Steichen for this year with what he did with Daniel Jones. But he also had, I don't even want to get into that. But my whole thing is, shout out to Shane Steichen, but Robert Saleh, I am right with you, Corey. This is my favorite hire so far. And I know we're going to draft Fernando Mendoza. I wish this was my head coach in Las Vegas right now. I do. I love Robert Saleh.
Mm-hmm. We can get into Jesse Minter going to the Baltimore Ravens and that hire. I always felt like they were going to go a defensive-minded guy. The Chargers' defense was elite all year. And I think the Ravens just have better personnel. I don't really got to harp too much on it because we know what the Ravens are about. With Lamar Jackson healthy, they're a threat to win the 1 seed every single year with him healthy. And I think the defense just kind of needs a little bit more juice. Losing McDonald to the Seahawks and what he's able to do over there with that defense, kind of a tough blow, but what were you going to do? Fire Harbaugh a year early? Like what were you going to do? Like, you can't even beat yourself up about that. But then you bring in Jesse Minter, who might not be on that same level, but can provide you kind of that same feel that McDonald's doing with the Seahawks and bring that defense back to where it wants to go. I'm surprised they didn't go offense, but I think the defense did question you more than the offense. I think because you got to think when you have like, I kind of view it as the Bills' job too, is like where you don't mind going defensive minded because you got Josh Allen, you got Lamar and Derrick Henry. Like, the offense is going to take care of itself at the end of the day. Now, I do say Lamar got to stay healthy. Lamar definitely got to stay healthy. That's the main thing with the Ravens. Because if he's healthy, the Ravens got a shot to go to the Super Bowl every year.
I'm not mad they went defense, but I think this is the number one job, though.
Right.
I thought this was a Sean McDermott spot with how, I mean, because they hired Minter yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I thought this could have been a Sean McDermott spot, but honestly, that doesn't make that much sense, so I get it. But I thought this was we offer Brian Flores and get him out of Minnesota. I know you guys paid him, but he still could be a head coach. I don't know. Can I
tap in on that?
Yeah.
Because I thought, when I saw Flores was and the Ravens were interested, I was like, oh shit, like we just lost the best DC in all of football. I was like, God, like we're gonna have to kind of reshuffle the deck, get the defense back together, because Vikings, I'm not gonna say the Vikings have a top echelon defense. I was telling Nick last night, actually, I think the Vikings are like that tier below the God tiers, like the Texans, Broncos, Seahawks, and I think the Vikings are like
reliant.
Yeah, they're like a
personnel,
step
they're
below.
Not there.
Yeah, personnel, they're not there, but scheme-wise, they're a step below. Like, looking at that, if he would have got his hands on that Ravens defense with that personnel and how he's able to scheme, shit would have got crazy in the AFC.
I agree.
And I think it's very fortunate for Vikings fans that we retained him, and he could still leave, like obviously get a head coaching job. But it seemed like the only ones he was still in the running for was the Ravens and Steelers. And I think the Steelers are going a different direction as well, more offensive minded, because they've been defense for so long. I wouldn't even be shocked. I wouldn't even hate them for wanting to go the offensive route this time around. Man, like Flores with the Ravens would have been absolutely elite defensively, like with that personnel.
I think
like,
so too.
Oh my god!
I think he still could be the Raiders coach. By the way, I know that doesn't fit into what you're saying about the defense, but I think there's a world where Flores is still a head coach.
Yeah,
but Ravens is that's the ideal destination, right? Like you're looking at a defense with personnel, and you're looking at an MVP quarterback, and you're looking at Derrick Henry at running back. You're looking at Zay Flowers coming off a career year, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Ravens job, that's my only thing about the Jesse Minter. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know Jesse Minter football like that. He did a great job with the Chargers. Chargers DC, correct? I just want to make sure I didn't misspeak. Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of names in this coaching carousel that are like not that. It's like guys who did good jobs with their teams, but not big names. You know what I'm saying? That's why I wanted to make sure I was right. But like Jesse Minter might do a very good job with his team. I had such high expectations that they found a way to make this home run hire somehow. The fit sounds weird, but just because of my Lamar love, the Fitz ass. But I can't get over the fact that there's a guy sitting at home that's such a good coach that he won't take a coordinator position, and his name's Mike McCarthy. The only job he's taken is a head coaching job. I just think he could. I just don't see a world where if Lamar's healthy and he's calling plays, that Lamar isn't the MVP and they're not like a 1 or 2 seed in the AFC.
Yeah. I think Mike McCarthy's going to Pittsburgh from that area as well.
He's from Pittsburgh. You're right. That's probably the job he's taken. But at the same time, though, is that not a rebuild time for Pittsburgh? Like, if Rodgers leaves, why does he want? I know he's from there because they made the big deal on was this Sunday night game when Cowboys went and beat Pittsburgh on the road.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that game,
yeah.
No, I mean, hey, listen, shout out to Jesse Minter because this is going to be his first time being a head coach, and I can't shit on the hire. I guess my only pushback is I thought it was going to be a big time home run hire, and I know he actually was one of the bigger names in this, but first time head coach, gotta give him a chance. When you have Lamar, though, I'm not going to get excited about you hiring a defensive coach. But like you said, right. Lamar's so good that he probably doesn't need that at this point.
To kind of, because I'm not going to lie, the Dolphins one's kind of tough to talk about with the Tua situation. Jeff Hafley, like, I'm not so caught up to ball with him. He's like a first-time guy as well, to where you got to kind of see it before we even talk about.
The haircut sucks ass. And his intro press conference was ChatGPT.
I got to see that before I even comment on it.
I mean, I'm just going to be
honest. Miami's like just like a whatever job at the moment because who knows what the fuck's going on in Miami.
Jeff Hafley, listen, probably a good hire because he actually, I will say though, his haircut's just overly military. He's probably going to like coach his butt off and they'll probably win 2 more. They'll probably hit their over on win total, whatever it's going to be. I don't see it working out long term. If it does, I'm okay with being wrong because shout out Miami. I don't really care about that division. If it doesn't work though, shout out to Jeff Hafley. Took a head coaching job. Probably as good as a coordinator for life after this, no matter what. I think this is the Brian Schottenheimer hire from last year. That's my call on this one.
Okay. And then I will give you, to kind of wrap up, I have 2 predictions of like, because it's kind of hard to say because this coaching cycle is wild. And like the 2 coaches I think will be in their spots by a full offseason time. I think the coach of the Buffalo Bills, because it just makes too much sense, will be Brian Daboll. I just think it makes too much.
Yeah, he was the OC there. That's a good call.
Yeah, I just think it makes too much sense. And I have the
You don't think he just wants to be an OC?
No, I think if he has a chance to get back on with Josh Allen and the Bills, I think he's going to take that.
Raiders,
he's going to take that.
Hold on.
I think somebody that would be a good floor setter that not a lot of people are talking about, that I think he would bring in the right OC. I think Sean McDermott wouldn't be a bad hire for the Raiders. I don't think he'd be a terrible hire for him.
It would be a good hire. Do you think that's going to happen, though?
A lot can be sold to McDermott. You're talking about a bunch of cap space, Max Crosby on the defensive side, Genty, Bowers, Mendoza. Kind of a clean slate. You had all the shit with Josh Allen and the Bills that didn't end up working out. And I hate to say like
this yet. That's why I'm confused because I just haven't heard this from any of my Raiders sources. That's why I love it though. I think Sean McDermott. You got to look at what Buffalo was before he got there. Like I love this hire.
It would be because I don't want to compare, and people do this too much. Is like just because he didn't have this. Oh, he won multiple Super Bowls with Josh Allen does not mean just because he didn't reach the mountaintop that he isn't a successful coach. Multiple years in the playoffs. You got to think, there are fucking teams in this league that haven't been to the playoffs for 10, 15 years. Like, getting to the playoffs is a success in its own, and just because you have the expectations of winning a Super Bowl every year doesn't mean, yes, are you disappointed, but that doesn't make the season just a wash and unsuccessful at the same breath. So I think people were ready to, and maybe, I just think it was a change of scenery time because of all just the bad, disappointing losses in the playoffs that kind of put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth of, oh, Sean McDermott can't do it. He can't get over the hump. But I think Sean McDermott is such a good floor raiser to the point where he could go to the situation like Vegas with kind of less pressure on it, having Mendoza, Genty, Bowers, like being able to kind of have a clean, fresh slate with cap space and young talent and the quarterback on a rookie deal, the Vegas job is enticing because Mendoza's that guy. Mendoza's one of the most polished NFL-ready prospects that we've seen in a very long time. And I think looking at him and what he's going to be able to do, if they get the coaching right, I think Sean McDermott's a really, really positive and good hire. Because when you're looking at that, I think he needs a clean slate with a fresh opportunity to realistically go. And I think the Raiders are that perfect clean slate and fresh opportunity for him. And I think it would be a good hire. Even though we haven't heard it a whole lot, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I'd rather have Sean McDermott, somebody who's been a head coach, been a proven winner in this league, than like Clint Kubiak waiting to see if he's going to leave
And
the
that's
Seahawks.
what it's looking like it's going to be.
Yeah. And I think you're going to wait on Clint Kubiak.
It's seeming that way. And listen, I might prefer McDermott over Kubiak. Like, I want an offensive mind for Mendoza because I think that's where Mendoza excels, is if you give him some structure, he can get it done. Mendoza's not the biggest, like, I think there's a little bit of a thing out here. I think it's helped a little bit with him getting over the hump and winning the title and like the run play he had, the big play. I think you'd agree with me on this though. Mendoza is a lot better than people give him credit for. Like, as a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he puts the ball wherever he wants. He has the size. I know his interviews come off like he's like this, like, you know, like this, like, baby. But he is a fucking psychopath competitor who I think is going to be. I think that there are coaches that might look at this Raiders job a little bit higher than I even do as a Raiders fan. So I would love Sean McDermott to take that chance and come along. Sean McDermott's a guy that I trust to bring in an elite offensive coordinator. I mean, Joe Brady did a great job for the Bills. I think there's a world where we don't have to hire Kubiak. We can just get a guy that we trust and we know will bring in a good play caller, and it doesn't matter having the offensive-minded head coach. The Panthers defensive coordinator is getting a little bit more Raiders hype than I'd like. Avero, it's like Elijah Avero, something like that. He's probably going to be a good coach one day. I'm not hating on the guy, but this doesn't really seem like it fits for us right now. That's my only thing with that. But Kubiak really seems like the answer. So I'm glad you bring up this Raiders spot. I think in a future episode, we'll probably talk a lot about the Raiders' #1 pick, and we'll have our head coach by then. So that'll be interesting because, I mean, it's fun because it's my team, I guess, but we're just going to be kind of under a microscope here the next few months just because we have that pick. We don't have our coach yet. Like, I'm in such a anxious position right now because, I mean, I texted you earlier, there are Lamar rumors. I'm not going to buy into it much. If it happens, awesome. It's my favorite player all the time, but I'm not going to buy into it much. I mean, I'm playing that number 15 as our quarterback this year, Fernando Mendoza. But it's really odd to not have a head coach right now. You know, it's like, for some reason, we know our quarterback, but we don't know our head coach, but neither of them are in the building yet. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah,
I'm in like the most outside of being a playoff contender. There's like a group of contenders up here, right? And then there's the Raiders here as most interesting teams in football, and for different reasons. But I'm in that, and it's kind of fun as a fan. But man, I don't know, dude. I want to believe in Kubiak because the Seahawks are incredible. I love their offense, but like I kind of hinted at when I was talking about Jesse Minter, first-time head coaches scare me. I like structure, and that's why I was so excited about Pete Carroll. I think he was just dealt a bad hand and also was a little bit past his days.
Yeah. To kind of pivot, we can end this episode talking about our championship predictions. By the time you're seeing this episode, it will be Saturday morning, a day before the championship games. So we can kind of just give our slight predictions. This is my favorite time because I always think the championship games are better than the actual Super Bowl. But that's just me. Me personally.
Well, it's not a commercial show, so fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'm going, and I kind of already made my predictions in a TikTok on the pod. So looking at that, I'm going Broncos over Patriots. I think Mile High. I am also thinking Sean Payton. The way he was talking about Stidham made me so confident in him being ready. Because when you look back on it, the Broncos paid Stidham. They wanted him specifically in that building. This isn't just some backup quarterback that's traveling from team to team like Jameis, or anything like that. This is somebody that they wanted. They paid a good amount of money to be the backup quarterback, and he's been in the system for a while now. with Sean Payton. I think this is going to be a very good game. I think people are kind of giving the Broncos no chance, but I'm like, you're giving one of the best defenses in football against a rookie quarterback at home. All Stidham has to do, not turn the ball over, make a few throws here and there, and use the run game effectively, and you have one of the best coaches of all time to lead you in that way.
I'm in on this, Corey. I mean, I think if they were on the road, I'd say fuck no. But Drake May hasn't showed me anything to a point to where I trust the Patriots offense to like dominate in a way where, like, I think the Broncos defense is going to be able to. I think that I trust Sean Payton more than I trusted the Chargers offense, but it's going to be a game like Chargers Patriots. But I think the Broncos get in the end zone twice.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. I am in on the Broncos winning this game. I'm not out here trying to make a hot take because I'm hating on the Patriots or like Stidham's going to go off. I don't think he has to.
No. I mean, if we just watched CJ Stroud throw multiple fucking picks and fumbles and all kinds of stuff, and they were still in the game. So
That's
like,
what I'm saying. And Stidham's not going to play. I like actually 100% guarantee he plays better than Stroud did. 100% guarantee.
Yeah. I will say, kind of before we get into the NFC side of things, because we're both going the Broncos, feel for Bo Nix, because I feel like that was the first game where he shut a lot of haters up, including kind of every.
He was balling.
I feel like he was he's a gamer for real. Like Bo Nix is for real. I feel like bad that I've ever. It's not so much doubting him, but like. Just when you kind of look at the way they play, it's a lot of checkdowns. It's a lot of stuff he kind of did at Oregon in a lot of ways. But bro was hooping against Josh Allen in a big time moment in the playoffs and won the game. Yeah, and won the game and outplayed him.
He's like, a dog.
Like Bo Nix,
the penalties. He's a dog.
Yeah, like Bo Nix is for real. And I think he just doesn't. It sucks because he doesn't get the same love as Drake May, Caleb Williams, all these other quarterbacks in that same class. He does not get the love of that because of he has like a great defense in Sean Payton and whatever you want to say.
Their defense has fallen off though, and he's kept them afloat. Not falling off to be a bad defense, but they are not the best defense in the NFL like they were for the first few weeks. Because when Bo Nix was having bad games, yeah, his defense covered up for him, but that has not been the case recently. He's winning games in the 30s.
I'm going to say a little bit of a hot take. But for me, personally, the gap between, and if you ask a bunch of people just in the NFL world today, is Caleb Williams better than Bo Nix? They would be like, oh, it's not even close. It's not even a conversation. No, it definitely fucking is.
That's the closest comp ever. Numbers-wise, look at it too. It's close.
Because I can promise you, a lot of the layups Caleb misses, Bo Nix doesn't. Caleb might have the big plays and the escapability. Bo Nix gets out and uses his legs as well. So I think if you ask anybody in the NFL world who's a better quarterback right now, they would easily say Caleb Williams. I could agree with that at certain points, but they would make it seem like there's not even a conversation when there's definitely a fucking conversation. Because Bo Nix is definitely in the same room. Bo Nix is a lot like Purdy in a lot of ways, but I just think he has more of an athletic upside than Purdy.
I agree. Purdy's shown it a little bit, but Bo Nix does it like every week.
Yeah. So, like, I'm looking at that. That was kind of like my hot take of, like, saying that I think people, if Bo Nix never got hurt, I think if you ask anybody, they would be like, Drake May is in a whole different stratosphere than Bo Nix. And I'm just like, hold on. Because Bo Nix is, yes, he does have, it's not a crazy gap. It's not a crazy gap.
You could argue Bo Nix is better than Caleb. So, I'm sorry.
It's an interesting thing, but I don't know.
I think Caleb will be better in the long run. But right now, I don't think it's crazy for Bo Nix to be better than Caleb.
No. And then we can transition to the NFC side of things. Seahawks, Rams. It was always Seahawks, Rams to go to the bowl. Those two games they played in the regular season were cinema. The big comeback that Seattle had. Like, it was, the writing was on the wall. And the only team that could have messed any of this up, in my opinion, was the Eagles. Because the Eagles had the talent, and the Eagles if the Eagles got their shit together, they were the only team with enough talent that I could see knocking off either squad. I'm going the Seahawks. Me personally, I kind of said it in the TikTok I made that I think the Rams coming off 2 back-to-back road wins and tough road wins. It's not like they like cruise past Carolina and Chicago. The Seahawks really cruise past the Niners. But I will say it's interesting. No Zach Charbonnet now. He's hurt, so that's an interesting wrinkle in the run game. But Kenneth Walker's been eating.
But he
So
has to be a bell cow now, and that's going to be an interesting aspect. Keep going, though. Sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
So I'm looking at this game has third straight road game and probably the hardest environment of the three.
100%.
Against the Seahawks defense. Man, like, if there's any team that can beat the Seahawks defense, it's the Rams. They've proven it. But I just think the Seahawks are going to get it done. And if the Rams find a way to beat and go on the road and beat the Seahawks team, 3 straight road wins, all in cinema fashion, like, it's gonna be one of the craziest runs. Like, with how they had their 1 seed locked up and then they fell down to the 5 and then, like, going on the road twice, like, it's just tough.
So we both picked Broncos. I'm glad we were able to agree on that, which honestly was a hot take from both of us, but I think it's fair to say because, I mean, I've picked against the home team too much in this playoffs, and I just believe in it. I believe in the Broncos process. I mean, I'm not going to I was going to 100% pick the Broncos if Bo Nix was playing, and I trust Jarrett Stidham to just not make mistakes. That's all I'm going to say about that. When it comes to this game, though, I'm going to kind of use your same logic, but in a different way. I think that if the Rams were a higher seed and they had played some home games, like if they were the Bears situation, they play back-to-back home games, then they got to go into Seattle and play on a road. I might be a little bit worried about that. But I think
they might be tested for it now. Yeah,
I think it's like a testament to this Rams team and how good they are, of that they're able to go on the road and win these games. I mean, yeah, Carolina and Chicago are nowhere near the level of Seattle. I think everyone knows that. But I'm not going to make this a Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford thing, but I am going to make this a Matthew Stafford thing. I think Matthew Stafford, there is absolutely zero world where he gets blown out in any situation. So I'm thinking of a close game in Seattle. I'm going to trust Matthew Stafford to get it done. And also, like, when I think of the Rams, I just think that throughout the whole season, I was saying they are the best team in the NFC. They are the best team in the NFC. They are the best team in the NFC. It shook out in those games. I look at those games that they played against Seattle, and that most recent one, probably either this or Bears-Niners on Sunday Night Football, is the best game of the year in the regular season. You know, the Seahawks had a lot of really crazy things go their way for them to win that game. And I'm going to trust Sean McVay with the playoff experience and the championship DNA to not have those late game moments go against him like they did in the regular season. And shout out to Mike Macdonald. He's been an amazing head coach, but he's going up against a guy with championship DNA and Sean McVay, and Matthew Stafford with championship DNA, and Matthew Stafford being a Hall of Fame MVP level quarterback. I trust Kyron Williams more than I do than Kenneth Walker as a bell cow, even though, yeah, Blake Corum does get some carries. I look at the receiving group. I trust Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Offensive lines might check out. I don't know the numbers on it, so correct me if I'm wrong there. They seem like they check out, though. I don't think either team struggles with it too much. Defensively, yeah, Seattle's got the edge, 100%. But when I look at position groups offensively and what I think this game's going to come down to, it only makes sense for me to pick the Rams, especially when I put that exclamation point on Matthew Stafford. And this is not a Sam Darnold thing. I'm not on the camp of doubting Sam Darnold in a big game. I think Sam Darnold is going to be okay, even with the injury. My calculations has come out to the Los Angeles Rams. Being on the road and just having that experience gives me more confidence in that. But I will say the Seahawks,
for that take.
The Seahawks are very suffocating right now. And I think that I do want to shout out Rashid Shaheed, not just because the big play return, everyone talks about that, but like that pickup at the Rams special teams sucks, and the Seahawks special teams has won them a few games this year. So that's something that can come into play in the playoffs, and the 12th man can too. But I'm going to ride with Stafford. I like the championship DNA in this one. But this game, like,
I can't even fault anyway.
I love this championship weekend because, like, you got Rams Seahawks, it's a divisional. It's been a good game this year. It's high level. And then it's like there's Patriots Broncos where it's like, okay, the Patriots should win, but it doesn't seem like that many people are just like out on the Broncos because of this injury, because everyone knows their defense is elite and Sean Payton's elite. And I mean, Bo Nix has been that guy, but going into the playoffs, no one was like, Bo Nix is going to win on these playoff games. So you can't use the reverse and be like, Jarrett Stidham is going to lose on these playoff games. Like, it's it's that system, it's that mile high home field advantage, which to me is a little bit better than the Seahawks advantage, at least when you take into account who's coming into the building.
Right. I just believe we get 2 good games, and then we'll get into our Super Bowl predictions in our next episode. But we can wrap it up there. A longer episode talking about playoffs, coaching hires, AFC, NFC championship predictions, and everything else like that. Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope to see you tune in to future episodes.